Hello, friends. I'd like to be a little sentimental tonight on explaining a few things about us people that all wear the same shoes of leaving the Watchtower. We all have different stories. We all have different experiences. Most of the time, it's the same story that others tell too. Most of the stories are just repetition of what happened to other people that fell for this nonsense of the Watchtower. This nonsense of selling books and magazines from door to door to enrich evil men and evil corporations, all dressed up with a religious suit on to fool the people. They fool you. They fool me. And there's three words that I have now for the last 10, 12 years since I've been out of that nonsense. Three words. And those three words are, how could I? How could I? How could I let them destroy my life when I was in my prime from like 28 on up to 40 and 50? The main time of your life where you can make some money for your old age. See? And I think back of my life in the late 40s and the 50s and 60s and 70s. How could I let them take all my friends away from me that I had known down through the years? Friends that we drank beer together with, friends that we played baseball with, in my case. We played baseball. And also, how could I let them destroy my memories of going out with my buddies to a concert to see great country singers, Hank Williams, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, Conway Twitty? How could I let them take all that away from me? My memories. How could I let them destroy those memories? How could I let them give me a substitute that was a bunch of nonsense? But I believed it. I believed it. Because, we all have a spiritual side in us all. We all do. We have that spiritual desire. No matter what it is, we have a spiritual desire to have faith. And we're all vulnerable to lies and truth. We're all vulnerable to that. Most of the time it's a lie. But we don't know that at that time. See? But then I think about my children. How could I let them make me take away their Christmas when they were in there like 12 on up to about 15, or maybe a little younger than that? I have 4 children. But how could I let them destroy all those things that I had with my children? How could I do that? How could I let something like knocking on a door replace your little child's birthday. How could I let them do that to me? But I did. How could I? I wish I could explain that. But no one can explain it. No one. Okay? I remember all the good times I had before I fell into this nonsense. Now, all this here nonsense with the Watchtower wasn't bad. It had some good points about it now. I can't give them a negative thing on everything in life. I can't do that because it's not true. I do know that I used to smoke from like 19 on up to about 30 years of age. I do know that it made me stop smoking. Oh, yeah. It made me stop smoking. It made me do a lot of things, like lying. See? I mean, we all tell lies, but I mean a way of life. It made me stop that. It made me stop drinking 100%. Instead, it made me drink in moderation. See? And also, on the ministry school, it taught me how to talk to people. I found that was what driving a point home meant. I know what it means now. Repetition. I know what that means now. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. See? There's nothing wrong with that. There is some good points about religion. There's some good points even about the Watchtower. We can't deny that. I don't think anyone that ever was a JW that's watching this video can truly say that everything about the Watchtower was negative. They can't say that because it's not true. Right? But I also know a lot of negatives came along, but it was disguised at that time. The negative of not putting enough time in to make some money and plan for your old age. Because we were always told the end is right around the corner. So what is there to, bank and buy stocks and bond certificates and so forth? What good is all that if this world is going to come to an end? It's a good question. Good question. See? But with negatives, there are some positives. It's all mixed up together. There's negatives and there's positives about the Watchtower Society. When you first come into it, it's all positive. See? But as time goes on, you start to see some negatives about it. Absolutely. And then when you find out some things that should not be, then you see all the negatives then see. Before you didn't see it because you didn't look for it. But once you find out a negative about anybody or about any business, about any religion, you start looking. It's human nature. You start inquiring. You start knocking on the doors of looking into. You start knocking on the door of research. Because behind those doors are answers to a lot of your questions. See? A lot of your questions. But through it all, friends, how could we all fall for something that broke up families? We didn't see it when we were first in it. We didn't see that. When we saw someone disfellowship and sitting there in the back on the last seats in the rear, we would walk by these people and we don't know what they'd done. Some of us did, because, people talk. But we would walk by them and say, well, they got what they deserved. The brothers who DF'd them knew more about it than we did. How many times you've heard that one? They know more about it than we do. Or when they're trying to slip one by you, they'll say, well, the elders know more about this problem than you do, so you have no right to make any judgment. They know more about it. They always know more about something than you do. That is a brainwashing point. They know more about something, no matter what it is. If a couple is breaking up in their marriage, the elders know more about the situation than you do. But yet you might live right next door to these people who are fighting and get ready to get a divorce. But the elders know more about the situation than you do. And yet you know Tom and Mary more than they'll ever know. You live right next door to them. But the elders know more about it than you do. See, it's a brainwashing mechanism. We know more about it. So when they drive that point home of knowing more about something, it convinces the flock that these men are spiritual men. They are appointed by Holy Spirit. So they must know more than we know. And what they do know is 100% right. It doesn't matter. We put our trust in them. We did. But now, since I have seen things different now, no. They'll lie just like Six-Pack Joe down the street. Absolutely. They call it spiritual warfare. They call it, they have no right to know. They have no right to know what we know. They have no right for this information. Other words, we'll tell a lie and say we don't know anything about this. This is how they are. Other words, they're telling us that it's all right to lie as long as it protects the society, as long as it protects the channel of God. The channel of God wouldn't need nobody to lie for them. They wouldn't need nothing like that if it was a channel of God. But anyone on here who is what we call an apostate and knows anything about the Watchtower, they know they ain't no channel of God. Men who say now they're not inspired by God. I know if y'all are keeping up with this stuff on YouTube and hearing what the JW.org is saying, they admitted recently that they were not inspired and they indeed were not infallible. But we all knew they weren't infallible. See? But we did think at one time that they were inspired by God's Holy Spirit. We thought that. Now they say they weren't. Well, by them admitting that, this governing body people, you know what they're telling us? That something is catching up with us. And I don't know what it is, but we'll find out later on down the road. Something is catching up with the Watchtower Society for them to confess that. So they don't do nothing unless there's some gain somewhere, or getting out of a problem. And that's what I believe it is. See? They're getting out of a situation. They're getting out of a problem when they say they're not inspired. There's a reason. There is a reason. See? And I'll guarantee you it's to cover their asses. That's what it is. For them to make that statement, we are not inspired. See? And you know, when I think back, and I know all y'all have heard this here, when the end was predicted, and they would admit that they would say, out of our enthusiasm for the end to come, we set that date. Out of our enthusiasm. Now, we weren't told by God that this was going to happen, but out of our enthusiasm, we made that date up of 1975 or 1942 or 1935 or 1914, 1919, whatever. Out of our enthusiasm, we said that. Oh my God. My God, you're dealing with people's lives. And out of your enthusiasm, Tom quit his job and started knocking on doors. Out of your enthusiasm has broken up homes. Your enthusiasm has made people die from blood transfusions not getting them. Your enthusiasm. Well, you know what I say to you, governing body people? Hell on your damn enthusiasm. Hell on it. Who cares about your enthusiasm? You're a cult, and God has you right in his number one position of a cult. And when that end does come, you're going to have to pay for all the wrongs you've done to people. How you have messed people's lives up. You know, there's 8 million of these people that are still in this nonsense. But you know, 8 million is a small number. When you would count how many millions have been in it one time and got out of it. There's millions that have done that. There's millions that have been disfellowshipped and never came back. See, the scars are still there on these millions who are no longer with it. The scars are still there. And these same ones who have these scars indeed are saying, how could I? How could I have let them mess my life up? How could I? How could I let them take all the joy out of my life that I thought I didn't have? But I knew it after I lost it. And I knew it after I saw what I had replaced it with. You know, when you think about that, I replaced Hank Williams Sr. for Judge Rutherford. Nor. I think he was the second president of the Watchtower. I replaced Hank Williams and Conway Twitty for Nor. I replaced my grassroots of my growing up for these characters, for these brainwashed zombies. Sure, they were men of the world, but everybody are people of the world. Everybody is people of the world. There's no such thing as the world. Everybody's in the world. It don't mean you do the things that are evil, but you are of the world. You are in the world. You have to make a living, send your kids to school, get them educated so that they can have a life too. But never, never would I would wish anything on anybody to say one day, how could I have let them make me a knocker of doors? How could I have let them do that to me? How could I let them make me give up a good paying job to knock on doors to get other suckers into this same game of knocking on doors and selling books? Selling books. I've said this a few other times in my videos. I knew an Italian brother when I first came into this nonsense. His first name was William. He was pretty educated, and he had a great job with an insurance company. He was like a CEO. He made good money. But when he got that so-called knock on his door and went to a Bible study with these cult people, he gave that job up. I don't know what William was making, but he was making damn good money. And now, when he did that, he gave that great job up to start knocking on doors. And to make his living, he knocked on doors selling pots and pans. Now, you all know, ain't nobody do that anymore. Nobody don't sell no pots and pans from door to door. But at that time he did, and he hardly made soup money. But he did all that because of a lie that was brought to his door by a knock on that door. And today, I wonder, that same brother, I don't know where he's at. I don't know if he's alive. I don't know that. But he was an Italian brother, a family-orientated Italian brother. And he might be saying the same thing I am. I don't know. He might be saying, how could I? I don't know. I hope he's not. But then again, maybe I should wish he is saying that, because I would know he's out of that cult if he's saying, how could I? How could I have let them take my life from me? And then these here 100%ers, these 100% zombies will defend it. They will defend it. Well, he didn't have his whole soul into it. See? That's why he failed. Yeah, you know, it's always, you didn't knock on enough doors. And to the wife who had problems with her husband beating her up, maybe you should be a better wife. How many times you heard that one? Maybe you should be a better wife. Maybe you should knock on more doors. Maybe you should pray more. See? They've always got something when they give you any kind of advice. And it's always knock on more doors. Be a better wife. Be a better husband. See? Put more in the Lord. See? This is their answer for everything, to enrich them. to enrich them. They don't care how you live. But you know, when they discourage fathers and mothers not to have their children educated, to live in this world, but put time in the field service, I get sick of it. You're going to raise your child up to knock on doors, but you never want him to get educated so as he can get a good job and get married and have a family. See? It's never nothing like that. It's never nothing like that. This is the way cults are. Who to marry, when to have children, when not to have children. That is a cult. That is a cult. I remember in Crisis of Conscience, Brother Ray Friend, God bless that brother, I love him. He made a comment in his book how he regrets not having children. Him and Cynthia. Because in their old age now, they have no one to come to them or even to leave their home to. Or, well, I think Ray did make some pretty good money on that book. And he made 2 books. But he died. And who was to get the proceeds of the books now? They were still selling. I don't know what happened there. I think there was a sister who was trying to help him out, getting the orders out. I don't know how that came along. But this is from following a Watchtower of not having children. See? And I think Ray regretted that till the day he died. No grandchildren, no children at all. Okay? And yet at one time, Brother Ray was the cream of the crop up there in Brooklyn. He flew in big planes. He went to Japan, Australia. He flew all over the world giving talks at conventions. Yeah, he had it all. He had it all. Accommodation, the best. Slept where the best sleep. Ate the best there was. But you know, in the end, he had a conscience. He could have stayed there and got all those goodies like these hanger owners up there now are getting. They know it's a lie, but they still want to live it. They don't want to give up those goodies. But Brother Friend said his conscience couldn't let him no longer remain a Jehovah's Witness. His conscience. So in that frame, he got out of it. His conscience got to him. He no longer could get up and talk to people about this cult, what it was offering to people, and he knew it was a lie. His conscience could not let him no longer do that. Hey. And I guess even Ray, down the day he died, repeated the same words that I did. How could I? How could I have let them do that to me? And yet we did. All y'all out there who are ex-JWs, whether you're an apostate or what, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But I guarantee you, all of y'all can say the same thing that I say. How could I? There's some sad tale somewhere with everyone who has ever been involved with this cult. Well, friends, that's all I'm going to be saying for now. This is almost 30 minutes. I'm going to close it now and say God bless all y'all, and may God keep you in his bosom position. Thank you, friends.